Tom?
And can you hear me okay too?
Yes, I have no video from you though.
Okay, let me see if I'm doing something wrong here. There you go. That's better, huh?
Hello,
I don't know if it's better. I'm there
Log into
anyway.
the live stream.
How are your doors?
So I'm going to put you in your seat over here.
We're live streaming now.
And you can see the screen okay? You can see the screen okay?
Yes, Hi, Mr. Tracy.
I'm Counselor.
Hi, Mike. How you feeling?
Mike, how you feeling?
I'm okay.
Ditto.
I'm here. I'm well enough to be standing here in front of the computer, so.
He's doing his max headroom thing. Is that, probably, you may be too young to remember.
Oh, goodness. And I can see Rochelle on the other big screen.
Hi,
Hi,
Mike.
Rochelle.
I can kind of
How are
see
you?
you.
Well, it wasn't the crowd I was expecting. Where's mine? Oh, here we go. I actually didn't want one.
Where's mine?
What do we have there?
What does it sound like?
Is Elizabeth coming?
No.
Proves that I don't cook the books.
Proves that you're good at cooking.
Or do you burn them?
It's great. Stuff on an open microphone, you know?
You can't cook, but you burn them.
Personal copies, huh? Thank you.
Yep.
That's a good audit report.
Live stream's not working?
It's not the temperamental.
I'm in the room, the live stream is not
Give me one tonight. I think there's an electronic version. That's to the mayor and back.
Yeah, it's not a very big agenda. We should be able to breeze through it. Unless Mackenzie has a lot of objections that she plans on bringing up. It's always loquacious as Mackenzie asking her questions.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, I meant like when we just get to start streaming and
Yes,
start recording
I
too.
did that.
Okay.
Say goodbye.
Don't think I do that too often.
I do it.
I put it back on as a now. Well, it's a little live, so it is. I think you're watching over the recording right now. What kind of it?
Mike outside?
You get a motorcycle driving by. Go ahead.
Now come to order. We're commencing the August 29th, 2019 session of the Plattsburgh Municipal Lighting Department. Starting with attendance. Director Armstrong.
Here.
Director Kelly.
Here.
Director Gibbs is absent. Director Ensel.
Here.
Director McFarland is here. Director Moore.
Here.
Director Reed.
Present.
Manager Tracy.
Here.
And CFO is not here. Item number 1, minutes from the previous meeting. Resolved that the minutes of the meeting of the PMLD Board held on May 30th, 2019 are approved and placed on file among the public records in the Municipal Lighting Department office. Do I have a Peter? And a second. Director Reed. Any discussion on this item? Hearing none, we'll move to a roll call. Director Armstrong.
Yes.
Director Kelly.
Yes.
Director Ensel.
Yes.
Director McFarland votes yes. Director Moore.
Yes.
Director Reed.
Yes.
Number 2, financial report presented by MLD Manager William Tracy.
Yeah, if you, flip to the chart there, you can see that, for July, we've been doing pretty good with revenues, and we've kept expenses below that, so it's been a good month for us. Pretty much July has always been pretty good for us, if you look back over the last few years. In the back there, we do have, you can see what we paid, New York State in Rex and Zex. We're up to 1.2 million so far. We probably will be close to a little over 2 million by the end of the year. And then next year, they will be increasing that number by 2%. Or more if they decide they need more money for it.
And that's to the ocean, OREX?
Rex, they haven't started yet, but the state just awarded the contract to, I think, 2 contractors to design and build the offshore wind farms. So yes, that's probably coming very soon, once they figure out what the total costs will be. But the power generated for that will be used primarily in the New York City and Westchester County area to offset the shutdown of Indian Point 2 and 3.
And those are the nuclear power
So the
facilities, yeah.
nuclear power plants, yes. Indian Point 2 is shut down next June, and a year later, Indian Point 3 goes offline.
And Indian Point 1 shut down already, right?
Yeah, that's done years ago.
Are there any questions for, Mr. Tracy? On this, so, anything further, Bill?
Nope, not on this.
So resolved that the financial report as read is hereby ordered, received and placed on file among the public records of the MLD office. Do I have a motion? Director Reed, seconded by Director Edsel. Roll call, Director Armstrong,
Yes.
Director Kelly,
Yes.
Director Edsel,
Yes.
Director McFarland votes yes, Director Moore,
Yes.
Director Reed.
Yes.
That motion passes. Resolution passes. Item number 3 is departmental reports presented by MLD Manager Bill Tracy.
You can see in your packet there, the work, I say in progress, but the work that we have done in the last 2 months. And I don't need to read it, but it's various things. Of course, the key thing that we have installed is an EV charger for the city hall. And today, we just installed the second one, which is operational, down at the marina.
Really?
And yes, there was a lady down there with her white Tesla, and she
Good
couldn't
choice.
even wait for us to get the power to it. She wanted to plug into it immediately. And as soon as we got the power to it, she plugged her car in and charged it. So,
Where down at the marina is that, Bill?
as you drive into the marina, you'll see there on the left, you can't miss it. We have 2 signs blocking the 2 spaces there that says EV charging only.
And it's over near the Naked Turtle? Or,
Oh, well, it's past the Negatory. It's in the marina parking lot there.
perfect.
So, hopefully, we got 2 more to install, and we're waiting for parts to do the installation work. Hopefully, we get that stuff next week.
When you say 2 more, you mean 2 separate stations, because I know each station
We
can charge 2.
got one here to charge 2 cars, we got one down there to charge 2 cars. We're gonna put one in the lower Court Street parking lot for 2, and then the one up by, Margaret there in Court, that parking lot there across from the government center.
Yeah,
Right.
Cumberland Hotel.
oh,
Well,
that's what I thought you were
the
talking.
Cumberland Hotel used to be.
So you're talking about where the Cumberland Hotel is, and the other one you're talking about is City Hall Place, like next to
Yeah,
the.
right, that's right
Yeah.
over here, that's to the Pepper.
And then the only other one you're planning on putting in would be the proposed Arnold Pavone parking lot.
Right.
Okay. Are there any others that are proposed?
The governor does not want us to install any more level 2s,
Okay.
because level 3s will come out, they're supposed to come out January, February of 2021, which will make these obsolete, because according to the car manufacturers, starting with the 2021 model year, they will only be able to plug into level 3s. Level 3 is a high-speed charge, which is supposedly gonna be able to charge your car within 10 to 15 minutes.
Oh, wow, these ones that can take like 8 hours?
Well, it depends on the voltage, whether it's 120 or 240 or 208. It's either 4 to 8 hours. So that's supposed to be a high-speed charger. They will have their own transformer because they'll be at industrial power size, 480 volts. And they'll be charging at 200 amps, 150 kilowatts. They're supposed to do, like say 10, 15, that's what's projected right now.
And what's the operating cost for each one of these?
So these are only a couple thousand, those will be a lot more, and it cost a lot more, because they'll have to be tied into primary power, and then the cost of the transformer to step it down to 480 volts.
Now, despite the cost of the actual charging unit and the cost for installation, on a month-to-month basis, how much do they cost?
That will depend on how often they're used.
Fair enough.
The level 3s will be a lot more costlier because of high charge that they'll put in. It's then gonna depend on how many people buy those cars starting in 2021.
I think your question is at 240 volts and say 12 amps, that's about 3 kilowatt hours.
Yeah,
And what would your wholesale rate per kilowatt hour be?
For residential customers, it's 4.5 cents.
That's the retail rate.
Right.
But how much do you buy your power at?
A half a cent roughly.
So it's a penny or
Couple
two
cents,
an
yeah.
hour. But the consumer saves a lot because they're plugging in because their home rate, if they live outside of the city of Plattsburgh, is probably 20, 30 times that rate.
Yes, it's about, I think in the United States country, it's about 15, 16 cents a kilowatt hour.
Yep.
I've noticed the one up here gets quite a bit of use, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, like I said, the one down there, they wouldn't wait for us to even get it wired up, they wanted to plug into it.
Mhm.
Do any boats charge by electric? Yeah.
Yeah, but they could, usually
They could
those,
go to the dock.
those bass fishing boats, they charge off a 120 volt socket, so when you have those bass fishing tournaments, we have to turn on the outlets on the power poles down there, and they plug in on those to charge up the batteries. They basically, with their, was it trolling around, they're on battery power, but when they're cruising, they're actually on diesel fuel, or gas fuel, whatever those motors take.
I noticed other municipalities were adding them, and down in Essex County, there's one being installed at the Essex County Jail, and there was just one installed at the Essex County Courthouse, so they seem to be going up quite a bit. Any
Good
other
work.
questions on the electric vehicle charging stations? Please continue, Bill.
Okay. The next page just shows the IE projects. Most of them are completed. There's a couple still in progress. We're waiting for details of the main splits that are gonna be installed in City Hall. I'm waiting for DPW to provide that information. And like I said, the chargers, they're still in progress. So is the appliance program, still sitting in those in till the end of the year. And the installation program is still going.
And I've noticed that in our financial reports to the council, we've seen some, and I've sent some purchase orders for legal fees in regard to Rider A.
Yes, we
and
have a legal,
cryptocurrency.
I can't discuss it here. If you wanna go to closed session, we can discuss it there.
Okay, we won't do that now. Anything else, Bill?
Nope, that's it.
Seem to have lost my.
The only other thing would be, the hydro contract. It was on 60 days on the state register, it's come off. Apparently there was little or no comment about it. It has been re-voted by the Board of Trustees of New York Power Authority. They approved it again, second time around, and it has been sent to Albany for the governor's signature. He's expected to sign sometime in the October timeframe.
Oh, that's good news.
And that will extend the current contract out to the year 2040.
Any other departmental reports?
Nope, that's it.
Moving on to item number 4, monthly write-offs. 4A, resolved. In accordance with the request therefore, the MLD Board approves MLD to write off unpaid final bills for May 2018 in the total amount of $16,820.62. The percentage of write-offs for this period are 1.12%. 4B, resolved. In accordance with the request therefore, the MLD Board approves MLD to write off unpaid final bills from June 2018 in the total amount of $2,956.45. The percentage of write-offs for this period is 0.25%. 4C, resolved. In accordance with the request therefore, the MLD Board approves MLD to write off unpaid final bills from July 2018 in the total amount of $4,005.76. The percentage of the write-offs for this period is 0.35%. Do I have a motion? Director Reed, Director Ansel seconds. Any discussion?
Yes, I'd like to, I think all of us maybe received this email. I know I did, and I think Counselor Director Armstrong did, about the write-offs. I mean, we're looking at in excess of $23,000, close to $24,000 in write-offs. And the question was posed, could we consider maybe utilizing the services of a collection agency to get some of these, to get some of this money back instead of writing it off?
Well, first of all, the write-offs are required by the Public Service Commission. They're mandated. There's no choice in those matters. You have to do them. That's part of the rate-making process. Now, yes, we call it a write-off, but these do stay in our accounts. And a lot of times, we do have court cases against these people and judgments. They may not pay for 6, 7, 8 years after the judgment's filed, because in the case of a judgment, it only becomes an issue for that person to pay is when they're trying to buy a car or a house and they have to do a credit report. The court reports they're a bad credit risk, and of course, that's the first thing that shows up.
Almost like a lien against them?
Yes.
And a judgment lasts for 25 years. and
Plus,
gets
then they have to pay the interest for the time frame that's involved, and then the court removes it. That's what some of them, they leave here and they move into NYSEG country, do the same thing out, don't pay their bill out there, run afoul of NYSEG, and then they try to sneak back in here and get their service, and we usually catch them at that point. And they have to pay before they can get service restored, plus they'll have to pay a deposit as well.
Could you put it out for collection though if you don't manage to get paid after a year?
Councils have never, we've suggested it, but the councils have never been interested, because usually you have to pay about 35% whatever they collect, gets collected by the county.
Sure, but 65% of something is worth 100% of
Well,
zero.
the councils have never been in favor of it because of that. A fire department wanted to do it with the ambulance thing a few years ago, and the council rejected it because of the collection fees. I mean, you could do that. The problem is with these people, they disappear, there's no forwarding address.
But that's the job of the collection agency to track them down.
Assuming they could track them down. I don't know how successful it would be.
I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I'd be willing to at least give it a try, because it looks like there's money out there that could be found.
Mhm.
Well, the only catch that I know of on that is you usually only get pennies on a dollar. For the collection agency, they need to recoup money also. So they will not, like if they have $1,000 worth of debt, they may buy it from you for $50 or whatever. They won't offer, pay you big time on
Well,
that.
Well, there's
I
two
know
ways
that's
of doing
the
it
big
though.
issue.
You sell the obligation, or they work on a commission basis to collect. I mean, I think you're talking about the commission basis where they charge you 35% of
That's
what they
what
collect.
they're saying. I'm sure there's those ones, but I haven't seen those ones, so
There's
not familiar with
both
them.
ways. Yeah. Well, we should
But
explore
I think it's
that.
something worth
Yeah,
exploring.
I agree.
I assume the reason May's so high is that's when college kids are moving out and.
Well, it depends, it's a lot of things. A lot of it has to do with, people who are on social services that, they get heat money for their winter, and then they try to stretch it, that they don't have to pay till the next winter and have the heat payment pay off. If it doesn't work out that way, and they get in trouble, they don't wanna pay, and
So these write-offs B and C of 25 or 35 basis points, that's not bad. That's not bad in the industry. The May one of 1.12%,
well,
that's
I
high.
think that was due to the winter that we had. That was a pretty bad winter. Because this is from the winter time frame, and it was that bad that year. Also that year, we had our large Bitcoin operator that we were sort of subsidizing, I guess, if you want to call it. And many people felt they shouldn't have to pay their bill because of that.
Plus May of 2018 was when college students were moving out too.
Yeah,
That's-
but
that's-
a lot of this has to do from the winter though.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
the May.
The billing and
May
but the May
receivable-
billing would be
Would be
from
from
June to
July,
July,
yes.
right?
Yeah, this is for the winter time, and it's always high in that time frame because of that. And the college just figured into it a little bit, but
The May billing would be for the previous month, so it would be for April.
April.
Just before the college students are checking out.
well,
That's the majority of the May bill, is the students who are leaving and they just don't pay.
but also, this also counts for periods, because under the PSC rules, we may have been trying to collect for 2 or 3 months prior to that.
You know, one thing that you don't show, everybody's concerned about the write-off amount, but you don't show your recovery amounts in your report.
Right.
If you showed your recoveries, you'd see it's a net loss of less. Part of the way this is done, and should be done, is you write them off, not physically in the books, but you establish a reserve. So then your collections back through the reserve or your recoveries, and you can track those and report on those as well. So you'll see that there is a net gain for what Bill's talking about. For people who get caught with judgments and people who get caught trying to come back in and open up another account and so forth. But as far as the collections, if you give someone the job of, okay, collect and give you 30%, they'll pursue it a little bit, write a letter or two, and if they really can't make any progress, it'll go stale. But if they do have a hot lead, they'll get after it and get it, and you'll get 65–70% of it back. So it's got potential.
Well, maybe if, for the future reports, we can see the net write-offs, but also the recoveries, that might help in putting that in
There
better
are
perspective.
recoveries, and we don't report on them, never have, but they could be reported on. And that shows that you're making some headway against these write-offs.
I think it'd be worth pursuing, at least looking into.
Mhm. I agree.
Well, we can look into that. Any further discussion on this, on item number 4? Hearing none, we'll move to roll call. Director Armstrong,
Yes.
Director Kelly,
Yes.
Director Ensel,
Yes,
Director McFarland votes yes. Director Moore,
Yes,
Director Reed.
Yes.
Just to clarify, was there a motion on that? I didn't hear it first or second.
yes.
Oh, yeah, the first was Director Reed, the second was Director Ensel. Moving on to item number 5, travel requests. A, resolved, in accordance with request therefore, the MLD Board approves the MLD travel request for 2019. 1, Bill Tracy to attend complying with Fire Protection Program in Albany, New York on September 26, 2019. Training required to renew my New York State engineering license. Training and travel at no cost to the city. 2, Bill Tracy to attend Certified Energy Manager Training Program in Las Vegas, Nevada from December 9th through the 13th of 2019. Training required to renew his New York State engineering license. Training and travel at no cost to the city. And those are the only transfer items, or do we have a motion?
So moved.
Director Ansel, any second? Director Reed. Any discussion on the travel items? Hearing none, we'll move to, we'll take a roll call. Director Armstrong,
Yes.
Director Kelly,
Yes.
Director Ansel,
Yes,
Director McFarland votes yes. Director Moore,
yes,
Director Reed.
Yes.
Those resolutions are adopted. Item number 6, any old business to discuss? Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 7, any new business to discuss?
Yes, Patrick, I have a question for Mr. Tracy.
Go right ahead.
On the Saranac River Trail, there seems to be some streetlights that are motion sensitive. They only seem to come on when people are approaching. Is that right, Bill?
I'm not familiar with the lighting down there.
Pardon me?
That's not our lighting that's down there.
Really?
That may be, depending what the trail is, that could be SUNY property. You do go through SUNY, and they do have motion detection lights, but I don't have any lighting down in that area.
Down on the like at the beginning of the Saranac River Trail on Pine Street. That is SUNY property.
Well, so not that there, but I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have any motion detection on any of my lights.
Well,
If the street lights don't light up, that means that the bulbs are burnt out, and nobody's told us that there's a problem with them.
okay, would you please check out the corner of Pine Street and Smith Street? There's a light that comes on and off sporadically.
Okay, what's happening there is with the high pressure sodium lights, when they start to fail, they come on, they go off, but each time, if you notice, they'll come on less and stay off longer till the point where the bulb finally blows up,
Right.
burns out. So,
Well, there-
what we have there, we have to replace the bulb.
There's a
it's on the
potentially
corner-
dangerous, the next one down on Pine Street on the left is the same way. It comes on and off
Okay, so this is on the
sporadically.
corner of Pine and Smith.
Yes. And then a little further down Pine toward Water Alley, there was a little problem there. And also there, excuse me for not knowing the terminology, but the rigging for the poles there's one guy wire, I guess you'd call it, in particular, that's not marked very well, and I'm afraid someone's going to trip over it.
Well, I'll have to take a look because, we put guy wires out, but also the other utilities too. That could be a telephone and it could be, Spectrum, the cable company.
Okay.
Which pole is it exactly?
It's not on the corner of Smith and Pine. It would be the next one to the south.
Okay, we'll take a look at that and see if
All right.
it's ours or somebody else's.
Okay, appreciate
Well,
that, Bill.
on the subject, and when you switch out the street lights, are you replacing them with
LED
LED?
It depends on the area. We don't want a situation where you got red light, white light, red light. When we do the LEDs, we do entire blocks.
Okay,
What percentage of the city now is LED, Bill? You know?
Not very much. There's 2,500 streetlights. It's gonna take us about 4 years to change them all out.
Yeah, Joel reported that to our task force the other day.
Yeah, it'll cost about 4 million before it's all said and
And
done.
when we pick blocks, do we pick blocks that have a lot of streetlights out, or do you just, is there a
So
schedule?
we're picking sections and just changing them out.
Okay. There is an out streetlight on Saley Avenue in front of 86. I don't know who lives there, but I've noticed that.
One on Tom Miller in front of 29.
Thank you, Councilor Kelly.
We opened up Pandora's box, Bill. Sorry about that.
we'll have to all as constables now and go check out the lights.
Our intentions with the LEDs is we're gonna try to get the main streets coming into the city, like Boynton, Tom Miller, Route 9,
Saley Avenue.
Broad, get those converted over first, and then we'll work on the side streets.
Thank you, Bill.
Is there any other new business? Bill, I know,
We're expecting to close very soon on the Sharon Avenue property, probably end of next week, it's looking like. So expect to move pretty soon on that.
oh, that's exciting.
How long do we anticipate after we close, the move being completed?
Well, if they need to, we can already seek permission to temporarily start moving some stuff, so it really depends on their logistics and what they can accomplish. But it's safe to say they're anxious to move and get settled
Well,
in
I
on
would
the
say
new
we'll
buildings.
get out of the future home of the farmer's market first. Probably within several weeks, we'll be out of the rest of it. We've been palletizing stuff as we go along, so it's a matter of packing it up on trailers and hauling it down there.
Now, Bill, there's been concerns brought up, Mr. Gillespie, as he's here, he'll probably bring it up in the next item, of security at some of our substations, namely a substation that he's brought up is on Mill Street, Main Mill Street. Are there any ways we can put up like fencing or cameras or
We're
anything?
actually looking to put a gate up there. DPW is in the process of manufacturing us a gate to shut that off.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful, thank you.
I'll have to talk with Mike Brody, find out where he is. Like I said, we provided him the materials. I don't know with all the road work they're doing, where they are in manufacturing that.
And as far as you know, has there any been concerns brought to MLD about security and such issues around any other substations?
Not really. The only time we ever had an issue with the substations, actually somebody going in was 7 or 8 years ago. There was a cocaine gang that was going in to steal the copper. But they were all rounded up by the sheriff and the city police.
That's what you had down, what's been going on down there.
Well, actually, one person called me one day and complained, and it turned out it was like 2 guys that were cutting the grass out that they were complaining about.
Before you posted it, I brought my dog back there, and I actually finding strategies and stuff.
I understand, and
I feel bad because a lot of people, I've lived there since '88, and a lot of people like to go back there fishing, and I understand that.
Well, we're gonna shut that off.
Yeah.
That is the plan.
But somebody, I don't know, maybe I could do it myself probably, Bombardier, they're starting to slide over under Bombardier, getting out of vehicles and turning across.
Well, Bombardier, from what I can see, is extending their fence line too, so
Well,
I think eventually that whole area will be shut off.
All right, we're gonna move on because I know there's a public hearing coming up and we're a little over time. So any other new business from directors? Moving on to item number 8, we have persons addressing the board. Any members of the public would wish to address the MLD board can come right up. Seeing none, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Director Ansel, seconded by Director Reed. Director Armstrong,
Yes.
Director Kelly,
Yes.
Director Ansel,
Yes.
Director McFarland, yes. Director Moore,
Yes.
Great.
Go ahead.
Director Reed.
Yes?
I didn't get, who said the motion second?
Second was Reed.
First? Okay.
First was Ansel.
Okay, thank you.
And motion is hereby adjourned. It is 5:02.
So let's now begin a public hearing. City of Plattsburgh is holding a public hearing to hear public comments on a proposed local law P5, a local law amending, renaming, and restating in its entirety Chapter 128, Article 2, Section 4, and amending, renaming, and restating Section 128-6, amending and restating 128-7, and amending and restating 128-10 of the City Code of the City of Plattsburgh, dogs and cats at large, restraint and containment of dogs and cats, identification of cats, barking, calling, and spraying. If you'd like to please, address the Common Council's public hearing, please come up and put your name and address on this form, and please come forward.
Lillian Cassidy, representing Animal Rescue and Welfare Services. First, I'd like to say that I understand if individuals have problems with neighbor cats. It's just sad that we have become a society who can't work out problems on an individual basis without creating a cumbersome law. Second, I'm curious what impact this would have on the resolution that was adopted in 2016 that allowed ARWS to do TNR in the city. This has been done in an effort to help decrease the feral cat population, with the cats being cared for by individuals. Providing this service does not mean that ARWS owns the cats, and if the law suggests that or determines that we do, I fear that we would be unable to go on with the project, which would only increase the cat issues in the city. If the individual feeding could not afford altering the animals, I'm not sure why we think they could afford to microchip the cats. Feral cats are really not owned by anyone. Third, requiring cat owners to microchip their pets would require identification of owners, and I'm guessing a cat census. If this is the case, at what cost and who becomes the cat clerk to follow up on the venture? What will you do if someone refuses to microchip their cat? It's interesting to me that the law requires cats, but not dogs, to be microchipped. Dogs are the animals who routinely show up on Facebook being held at the police station, appealing to the public for their owners to come forth. I am a pet owner, and I would rather not microchip my cats because of the risk of injection site sarcomas. Fourth, I think the noise issue is a joke. I've had a dog bark continuously across the street from my house for more than an hour and called the police, only to be told that they had to continue 15 minutes while they could observe the barking before a charge could be made. So if my cat starts meowing, as he sometimes does loudly, or my neighbor's cat urinates on my property line, we don't need to involve the law to be told that the officer didn't observe it. I would suggest that money could be better spent. I firmly believe that a written complaint will be an escalation into neighbor disputes. And I ask you to vote this proposed law down as excessive regulation.
Please come forward.
I think we need to realize that this problem did not crop up overnight. It's something that's going on for years. It's been actually neglected for many years. And all of a sudden, there seems to be a push to have an instantaneous solution to the problem, and it doesn't work that way. If you start discouraging people from feeding these cats, they won't have sources of food, and they will start to become hunters. They'll be going after birds and so forth. People know a lot more about this than I do, have come to the conclusion that the best way to deal with the feral cat issue is this trap, neuter, and release problem. It takes time, but the problem took a long time to just get going anyway. So if the solution takes a while, so be it, but at least, and I know it works, because for a while we had a colony of feral cats that we were taking care of outside the city. We fed them. We also were able to trap them and have them neutered. And after a matter of a few years, that colony disappeared because there was no reproduction, no new cats coming around. And you have to be patient with anything like this, and just to rush to something and start holding people who are being generous enough to watch out for these cats responsible, and not holding those, and I know it's almost impossible to do, but neglecting the fact that there are those people who are just letting these cats go and abandoning them, and they're going scot-free, and people who are trying to be generous and take care of them are being held accountable for it. Somehow or another, this is jumping to a solution that just isn't really a sensible one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other individuals like to please come address the council?
My name is Denise Nephew, Secretary to Animal Rescue and Welfare, and a resident of Ward 2. First of all, I ask that this mayor and council vote against this local law. This is the third attempt against cats in Animal Rescue and Welfare Services organization. You must know that most stray or feral cats will not let anyone put a tag on them, which even if you could, that cat could get caught or hurt or strangled. That actually happened to one of my cats. Councilor Ensel, you state you are not anti-cat, but this law does not address your comment, but to see cats mistreated and not properly cared for. The New York State Agricultural and Markets Law addresses animals not being properly cared for and mistreated. This is just another attempt by you to target feral strays and people helping these animals.
Please don't address any individual council on this.
Instead of helping to fund the farmer's market in a new place and to make it bigger, this is what we see. Instead of helping out problems at the city beach with changes and improvements needed, this is what you come up with. Instead of trying to protect all residents of the city, especially myself, from laws on the books like abuses about fire pit regulations and to try to find some way to hire more firemen, this is what we're looking at. Or laws against overhanging trees and brush from neighboring properties, which they don't take care of, and people like me and taxpayers are going to have to pay for. Why not try to look at some of these things that really we need help with? I read the Center City is in a downward spiral, and then this is all you can come up with? Instead of making absentee landlords start keeping up their property, another unenforceable law and put more burden on the taxpayers and on the current city employees. Finally, I want cats that get out or anything to come to my house, especially if they get away from their owners, or dogs, because of anybody, our neighborhoods help each other. I want them to come to my property so they can be safe, and I can help them get back to where they belong. I feel you're pushing people out of the city with the regulations. Please rethink this, and I ask, please vote no on this law. And hopefully this is the last time that we have to come up here and do anything with this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public who come forward?
Rebecca King, and I would like to encourage the council members to vote for this law. I don't see it as a law against cats. I see it as a law that shows that the city values cats as pets and as sentient beings. We want to make sure that if a cat is lost, that people can get the cat back. Whenever we get a cat into our hospital that has been found by somebody, the first thing we do is check for a microchip. It's the fastest and easiest way to get the cat back to the owner. If there is a feral cat problem in the city, and I believe there is, then being able to scan these cats that are suddenly showing up in colonies and say, hey, this chip was put in by so-and-so, you can tell who the owner of that cat was, and let them know that it's not okay just to abandon a cat out to the wild. They need to take responsibility for it. If they can't keep it, find it a home. I don't have any problem with requiring microchipping dogs as well. This is the actual device that's used for microchipping cats. They come individual, sterile, with the microchip in place, single one use. There's no more risk of fibrosarcoma putting in a microchip than there is with doing a rabies shot. This is a one-time only thing. It's not going to cause any great grief for the vast, vast majority of cats. And if they are fibrosarcoma prone, they're going to get just as much risk with the rabies shot as they would with this. And just to address something else, the police, I believe, don't currently put cats' pictures on Facebook because the police are not involved with picking up cats right now. The only mandate they have is to pick up dogs. So I would again encourage you to vote for this law. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca.
Okay.
Discretion, but it's not.
Could you keep it brief? And if you have a response that you can share with your other three, and just speak once?
I just wanted to say that.
Come to the microphone, please.
It's correct that rabies vaccinations can also cause injection site sarcoma. So can the combination vaccinations that are given for distemper. And recently, vets have started not giving the injection site or the rabies vaccinations in the typical place where a microchip would go, because if it develops into an injection site sarcoma and it's given in the leg, they can amputate the leg and the cat can live. I have two friends right now who are going through end stage for injection site sarcomas. So it goes both ways.
Thanks, Lo.
My name's Jack Beaumont. I just moved into a new place, and I noticed, I've only been there 3 months, but there's at least 7 or 8 cats that people are feeding, like, from the next 2 houses. And, you know, I've been a cat owner myself. I've had anywhere between 1 and 6 cats, but, you know, we always took care of them. My concern is, what's gonna happen to these cats in the wintertime? You know, they're feeding them now, but, you know, where are they gonna go in the wintertime? They're not gonna take them in their houses, so they're gonna die. So my concern is for the cat. You know, I don't think, I don't know about the law, I just happened to see it in the paper today that, I didn't know about the microchip thing, but I knew about the, possibly making a complaint that the people that were feeding it would be the owner of the cat. I knew about that piece. But, you know, that makes sense to me. Somebody's got to take responsibility for these cats. You know, there's got to be some responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Carla Ensel, and I feel that the council should vote for this law. I do have firsthand experience, as well as this gentleman living next door to a house with feral cats. It's a very complicated situation, and I know I've worked with Lil, I've witnessed cats die. I had a cat die on my front porch. I had a cat this summer who was so ill that it just passed. And I really feel that this law is for the cats. And I know that there's a lot of big emotions that are involved in this. I am an animal lover, and I just think I see what's happening with the cats, and there has to be some responsibility for people who own these cats. And how do we know you own a cat? So anyway, I just would really love to see this law pass. I think it's good. I think that people have talked a lot about it. There've been a lot of back and forth, but I do feel that this law is really for the safety of the cats. Thank you.
I just wanted to say one thing. 12 years ago, I started. There were 50 cats at Newman Center, 50. And with Lil's help, we trapped them, neutered, spayed, got everybody. The ones that could get homes got homes. We now have 15. This is 12 years ago, 15 old cats. Well, the youngest is 7, the oldest is 16. I feed them every single day. Winter, 20 below, whatever, I go. We have huts for them. The St. John's Church lets us, there's a little woods back there, and we have straw, and we have bedding, and I make sure they have water and food every single day. It does work to trap, spay, neuter, and release. And these cats, they don't kill birds, they just, I can pet most of them, and I mean, it does work. And it's not a colony that gets into the garbage. It doesn't destroy other things. They're just self-contained. Like yesterday, somebody dropped off a little orange kitten, and the colony's closed. They won't let any other cats in. So I went and picked him up. We got him neutered. He'll go to PetSmart. And then I just got one off Boynton Avenue that we'll get neutered and fixed and go to PetSmart. When they're young enough, we can, rehome them. But they do get fed all winter, every day. So, and I don't know about other colonies, but ours, behind the Newman Center. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other individuals like to please come address the council?
My name is Dr. Eric Eaglefeather, one of the owners of Eagles Nest Veterinary Hospital. I think that the proposal out there is actually a first step that has been long overdue. Anyone who wants to argue about microchipping as an identification process or somehow it causing a problem is not aware of the facts. Essentially, millions upon millions of microchips have been placed in animals with virtually no issues whatsoever. The biggest thing is typically a little bit of a soreness at the injection site, and that typically goes away really, really fast within a day or two. It's no more than getting a vaccination. In regards to vaccination sarcomas, they are caused and implicated by rabies vaccination and by feline leukemia vaccinations. They have an incidence of approximately 1 in 10,000 to 1 in 50,000 injections. This is far, far lower than any other vaccination, side effects. If you talk to pediatricians, they talk about side effects in the 1 in 1,000, 1 in 5,000 range. Here again, like I said, we're talking about 1 in 10 to 50,000. So I don't want to say that it's nothing that you have to consider, but it is a very, very minor thing. It does not in any way, shape, or form preclude rabies vaccination. The benefits of rabies vaccination far, far outweigh the risks associated with the actual vaccine itself, just from human health perspectives. In terms of cost to the city, one person exposed to a rabies positive animal that has not been previously vaccinated, i.e. the person's not vaccinated, is anywhere in the $3,000 to $4,000 range. So I mean, you're talking if you have 10 people who are exposed to one cat that gets to be rabies positive, not for anything that they've done, badly, that the fact that they're trying to care, the city is looking at a bill of almost $40,000. That's not something that taxpayers should have to really try to foot, especially if someone is just deciding that, well, I'd rather not vaccinate a cat. All cats, all dogs, anything that has an approved rabies vaccine should be vaccinated regardless. In regards to the actual microchipping, again, I think it is a great positive thing. I've spoken to 2 previous mayors at this ad nauseum, and it's been very, very difficult for anyone to get any traction in terms of trying to actually get something like this into a law. What it will do is it will identify these pets. It will be able to identify who the responsible party is. If you don't want to be an owner, so be it, but you can be the responsible party. If you're taking care of the pet, you are responsible for them. And therefore, the responsible party needs to be able to be identified. If you have a pet out there that does not have a chip, it can then be presumed that it does not have an owner and it does not have someone responsible to care for it, and then animal control can go ahead and take over from there. And one last thing, in regards to trap, neuter, release programs, there's going to be a whole lot of different points that people would like to make on them. The program has been going on for almost 30 years. All of the latest research over the last 5 years, I can go ahead and provide you with citations, I can go ahead and get you the articles, prove that without huge forces, huge numbers of people caring for pets, for these pets, going out there in force, making sure they get fed, these programs do not work. Okay, in all regards, your 50 cats are down to 12. So in 12 years, we've made an improvement of, in that one colony, 38 pets over 12 years. That is not making a dent in the program. There are all sorts of other places where colonies are forming. Just because one colony is getting smaller doesn't mean that there aren't other ones springing up. And that has been the case here in the city of Plattsburgh. We had one colony, then we had 2 colonies, and now I know of at least 7 or 8 colonies that we're actually dealing with. So the issue has not gotten any better, it's just sprung up in different areas. And until someone actually, again, is willing to step up and do something about this situation, you're going to have an issue. The reason why dogs have not become an issue is because you don't see them running around the city in packs. The reason why they don't run around the city in packs is because they have to be licensed. In order to be licensed, they have to be rabies vaccinated. And so all of these things work together in order to make the city a more livable place for everyone. Again, in response to disease is a big issue as well, and I'll talk about that some other time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
Anybody not spoken yet on this issue?
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question?
Normally a public hearing, so I think the council will be debating this at some future time.
Okay.
Would it be able to defer till then?
That's fine.
Well, seeing no additional public comments, I'll close this public hearing. And we can begin our work session if you'd like to bring up any issues for further discussion before we begin the council meeting in about 5 minutes. This might be also a time you can deliver any committee reports. You've got your regular reports in your packet. Is there anything to add from Councilor Armstrong and Governance Strategy and City Operations?
Yes. Let me know if I come across in a satisfactory manner.
Rochelle,
You're cutting in and out, Rochelle.
My audio okay?
No.
Now it is. You were cutting
Okay.
in and out.
All right, let me see. Just stop me if it's not satisfactory. So I'm making a list of the 30 actions we talked about at Plattsburgh Sustainability Committee, and including in them the required climate smart communities, so that we can easily reference that. And in addition to that, at the next committee meeting for government operation strategy, we will be reviewing some numbers of who is served at various rec complex sites and discussing financials for the rec complex.
Thank you, Rochelle.
Thank you. Councillor Moore for city infrastructure, please.
I don't have much to report other than, it seems like the Public Works has been very busy. I see them out everywhere, and striping is coming along real well. And I'm looking forward to our tarring of the cracks, which will be coming up soon, to preserve the roads that we have just paved. But they're doing a great job, and I want to thank Public Works for all that they're doing. They're really out there.
Thank you. Finance and budget, good to see you, Councillor Kelly.
Nothing new to report this week, Mayor.
Okay, public safety, Councillor Gibbs, Councillor Ansel, you speak on?
I can briefly, earlier this week, Councillor Gibbs and I met with the mayor as well as Chief Lawless?
Council Chanel.
In Council Chanel, yeah, to discuss some enforcement issues that discuss some of the issues that came up of the city livability committee.
And public library, Councillor Ansel?
There was a meeting on Tuesday of the library board. Again, unfortunately, I had a conflict with another board meeting that I needed to run, so I was unable to attend.
MLD Board President, Councillor McFarland.
Well, no updates at this time, although I will say that we just had our board meeting before the public hearing. So if you missed it, be sure to check it out on YouTube. Get some popcorn beforehand. And other than that, no updates.
Thank you. And just to clarify for the public, this was a public hearing on a proposed local law. The actual presentation of local law for further discussion and vote will be at a future council meeting, I understand. It won't be tonight. So just stay tuned.
And I will say, and to add on to Peter in the library, I did read an excellent article in the paper today about the library, about the good things happening down at the children's station. And I personally bring my daughter there on a frequent, not all the time, but on an occasional basis, and it's fantastic. And I would echo what the person said in the paper.
Thank you. Any other additional reports at this time? Seeing none, I think we're prepared to begin our meeting tonight. I'd like to begin tonight's council meeting with Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
United States of America.
And the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A roll call, please.
Mayor Reed?
Present.
Councilor Armstrong?
Yes.
Councilor Kelly?
Here.
Councilor Gibbs? Councilor Ansel?
Here.
Councilor McFarland?
Present.
Councilor Moore?
Here.
I have no particular comments for today, so please continue.
Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of the Common Council held on August 15th, 2019 and August 22nd, 2019 are approved and placed on file among the public records of the city clerk's office.
Moved by Councillor Ansel, second by Councillor Moore. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Resolved that the payrolls of the various departments of the city of Plattsburgh for the week ending August 28th, 2019 in the amount of $503,508.77 are authorized and allowed, and the mayor and the city clerk are hereby empowered and directed to sign warrants drawn on the city chamberlain for the payment thereof.
Moved by Councillor Moore and second by Councillor Ansel. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. We just covered your reports. Are there any additional reports you'd like to offer this time? Seeing none, resolved, the report says list are hereby ordered, receiving any written reports are placed on file among the public records of the city clerk's office, moved by Councilor Pencil and seconded by Councilor Moore. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. No correspondences or recommendations of this from board at this time, please continue.
Result of the bills ordered by the common council for the weekend ending August 30th, 2019 in the amount of $1,670,838.60 are authorized and allowed, and the mayor and the city clerk are hereby authorized and directed to sign warrants drawn on the city chamberlain for the payment thereof.
Moved by Councilor Moore and seconded by Councilor Ensel. Discussion?
Yeah, I see we have on here terrorism insurance. Is that something we buy?
Every year.
Okay.
Any further questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. At this time of the meeting, I invite any members of the public to please come up and address the council on issues on the agenda tonight. There will be another public comment period at the end of the meeting. This is agenda items only. Seeing none, let's continue, please.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council approves MLB to write off unpaid final bills for May 2018.
Motion to waive the reading and move the motion forward.
Moved by Councilor Ansel, seconded by Councilor Moore. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Discussion of the item itself?
Oh, I just want to follow up on what Councilor Hanson said. If we are to consider going with collection agent, then I just wonder how we're going to go forward.
Ditto.
Thanks, Michelle. You.
I have no idea.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Roll call?
Councilor Armstrong?
Yes.
Councilor Kelly?
Yes.
Councilor Ensel?
Yes.
Councilor McFarland?
Yes.
Councilor Moore?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council approves from a request from the Alliance for Positive Health to waive $200 stage trailer use fee adopted August 8th, 2019 for the Substance Abuse Prevention and Recovery of Clinton County event, Live Well, Be Well event on Saturday, September 21st, 2019, held at Macomb Park, Schuyler Falls, New York, because they are a not-for-profit.
Moved by Councilor
Kelly.
Kelly. Is there a second? We appear not to have a second, so we cannot vote on it tonight. Next item, please.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council approves closing the following streets for the 2019 Battle of Plattsburgh commemoration.
Beth, I'd like to waive a reading and move to resolution.
Moved by Councilor McFarland, second by Councilor Ansel. Discussion on waiving the reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Discussion on the item itself. Seeing none, roll call.
Councilor Armstrong?
Yes.
Councilor Kelly?
Yes.
Councilor Ensel?
Yes.
Councilor McFarland?
Yes.
Councilor Moore?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council approves the city chamberlain to adjust the 2019 general fund budget by an increase of $162,255 for professional planning, DRI, GEIS preparation to be completed by Chazen Engineering for the environmental analysis of all of the DRI downtown project locations. A purchase order is being presented for approval for the services which requires this budget increase to be established for processing.
Moved by Councilor McFarland, second by Councilor Moore. Discussion?
Yes, Richard, it says increase. I remember this when we approved Chazen getting the contract. If I remember correctly, the stated amount was $120,000. Is this approximately? Is this an
This is
increase from that, or
This is worst case numbers.
these are worst case
From
numbers?
what I know, 100,000 is the expectation. 162 is worst case in case they run into numerous issues. It could be additional public requirements for commenting and disclosure of information, or environmental issues that have to be researched further. So it's expected to be 100, but worst case is 162 as far as I estimate.
Okay, and this is just to adjust the budgeting for the general fund to make sure it's an item in there.
Funds to be able to pay for this.
And last time when we voted on, there was no appropriation of funds. So this isn't an increase from 100,000 to 262,000?
No.
Okay.
This is appropriating the funds for the first time to be able to enter into the contract and pay for it.
Okay.
It's a hard concept for a lot of, business owners like yourself to know, you gotta pay a bill, you may as well, right? The bill can't be paid in the city of Plattsburgh unless there's an appropriation for it, period. Council has to appropriate funding to pay for bills first, and then we can, here we go to the budget. Everything has to be budgeted, and if it's not budgeted and it's capital expenditure, then we have to have a capital expenditure appropriation to do it. So it's a very strict rule that we follow. However, when this was first introduced, I wasn't given the information about appropriating, and we finally got around with the details from Matt this week and put together, so we have it on the books, and, proper appropriation of paying the bills. No bills have been paid yet for this.
Okay, and this also includes the traffic study and all those other things that were discussed before.
It's my understanding it's the downtown secret that's gonna cover all of the DRI locations and any possible issues that could come up, and it's all gonna be done one time.
Thank you, Richard.
I think your question of an increase means an increase from 0 to 162.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to make sure.
I think that's confusing, but thank you. Any further questions or discussion?
Well, I just want to make sure I understand this. I think Mr. Marks just explained that this is an additional $62,000 expenditure from the original $100,000 that.
No, that's not the case. The
Okay.
original estimate that was put together on this was expected to be roughly 100,000, but it could be worst case 162,000 according to the engineer. And so we're budgeting for the worst case for this work, but it's expected to be roughly $100,000.
Okay, and that money does not come from DRI funds. It comes from the general fund. Is that
Right.
correct?
Yeah, that's the other important point about this. This is not reimbursable under any of the DRI grants.
Okay, so there's no expectation that we'll get this money back from DRI funds.
No, there's no place to recover this money from. This is a requirement
Okay.
for the seeker to be done in order for the DRI developments and all the location changes to take place. And the council already
Yeah.
voted on coordinating that in one seeker for the entire downtown area.
Well, this to me is a little troubling. As everyone knows, we're in a bind financially, and we're trying very, very hard to improve that situation with each passing year. But this is this an expenditure? Would you say that we expected all along?
Well, no, Mike, originally in seeker was sent to the planning board on, for just the Durkee lot. There was objections there brought up about segmentation. The consultant was consulted, and he suggested that we combine them all. So this is a much heightened process than was originally expected. But due to threats of lawsuits being brought against the city, it was decided that this was the heightened seeker analysis would be appropriate in this, to make sure that everything was done appropriately and ironclad and all brought in under one. So it certainly is a higher amount than we originally anticipated.
Okay. And I apologize if this has been discussed in previous meetings that I missed, then shame on me. But okay, do we anticipate any other expenses like this that will not be reimbursable? by the DRI will be charged against the general fund.
I would anticipate, and we have a contingency for various legal fees associated with either assistance in this or in subsequent challenges that we're going to need to be prepared for.
Right.
And the other
And I
cost
guess
here is the delay, Mike. It puts off every project until the GEIS is done. So kind of all of the projects are on hold. Probably we're hoping to get the GEIS in December. But that's not an outright financial expenditure.
Right. Okay, I guess it would help the council if we could know in advance as much as possible if and when these kinds of things are going to happen, so that we can, we can plan to remove money from other places perhaps and cover these kinds of things. As you know, we're trying to build a fund balance here, and this doesn't help. So what can we do? What can we do to ensure that, we're not surprised by these things, I guess. And I have to admit, I'm surprised. And maybe the rest of the council's not. Maybe you anticipated this, but it does seem like a lot of money.
It is, and I think we all would prefer that this all proceeded much more swiftly and less expensively. I believe the entire council is 100% behind the support that the state has seen in granting this $10 million investment, and then creating probably another $25 or $30 million of subsequent investment just in our downtown rebuilding alone, in addition to the various other investments we're making right now. It's really a very complete package and summarized very well at the public forum about a week ago. It's too bad that the state of all this requires us to do all this incredible additional diligence. No entity in the city has cut any corners at all, but we do want everything to succeed, and this appears to be the cost of doing business in this environment to ensure that everything will go smoothly. So it's painful, it's expensive to our taxpayers, obviously, but hopefully this will allow us to give the investment the very best possible chance for success.
Okay. Mayor Reed, I'll have to say that was very eloquently stated. Appreciate you saying that. I think we're all behind the DRI, no question about that. We have so many other things to look out for at the same time.
And your point is very well taken, that we're going to have to make sacrifices elsewhere to make this happen. And I think that the public should be very aware that these sacrifices will be necessary to accommodate these concerns articulated by a few individuals.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Any other further discussion? Roll call?
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council approves the city chamberlain to adjust the 2019 general fund budget to include the additional cost requested by Public Works to provide for materials to install the city's flooring from the Crate Center before completion of the Monument Stage trailers being constructed under Capital Project H5110.68.
Moved by Councillor Ensel, second by Councillor Moore. Discussion.
So what's the additional cost there?
Expected to be, or estimated to be roughly $2,500.
And Councillor Armstrong asked earlier today, was the reference to the Crate Center? There's an excess flooring from the Crate Center. It's been surplus that the DPW is repurposing to add flooring or better flooring to the stage project. But there will be some additional cost to it that we're trying to anticipate at this time.
Yeah, they've incurred roughly $1,500 already, and I think they have to work on a third stage component. There's 3 altogether. So they expect to be roughly $2,000 to $2,500 worth of cost, which is additional lumber and fasteners to be able to put the stage flooring on.
But certainly the stage was always gonna need a floor and
Sure.
fasteners.
Yeah,
So what's the increased cost here?
$2,500 expected.
Okay.
Any
Now,
further
doesn't-
questions?
Doesn't include a cost addition for the flooring, we've already paid for that, it's being cannibalized in the Grade Center, but it's being repurposed so that it's not just sitting around going to waste. And the public works labor can't be capitalized to do all the installation, unfortunately.
I guess my question becomes, if we're taking a flooring from the CREAT, wouldn't that lead to cost savings instead of a cost increase?
There's no recovery on that anymore.
Okay.
It's just that you don't pay for flooring to be installed as part of construction from an outside agent. So yes, there is savings in that respect.
Hi.
Any further questions or discussion? Roll call?
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Enzel?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
I'm gonna abstain.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council approves the city chamberlain to adjust the 2019 general fund budget for the city court facility renovation and upgrade costs with corresponding reimbursements to be budgeted as appropriation and estimated revenue increases of $50,000 each as directed by the New York State 2019-2020 budget.
Moved by Councilor Moore, second by Councilor Ansel. Discussion.
So we get reimbursed for this, right?
Correct.
Yes.
I saw some of those on the purchase agreements, I see new drapes and stuff.
Reimbursements at 105% of what our cost is.
So that's how we make revenue of
So the
50,000?
cost is budgeted, and the revenue is budgeted for the same, and then we'll get a 5% increase as well. But these are renovations, upgrades, rehabilitations dictated by the court system from New York State saying, this is what we want you to do to the city court this year.
Do we know what the upgrades are? They went through a lot of upgrades last year.
$27,000, no, $23,000 for draperies.
I saw that on the purchase
17,000
order.
for carpet, 2,200 for locks.
Saw that.
It goes on. We have to put this 50,000 in place because if we approve the purchase orders tonight that are there for 3 of the items, we'll be $38,000 over. So we're putting 50,000 out there for additional appropriation, just to cover in case there's more that they're gonna require. Sylvia and I worked on that this week and last week.
Any further questions? Roll call?
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Enzel?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council approves MLD travel request for 2019.
Beth, I'll waive a reading and move to resolution.
Second.
Moved by Councilor McFarland, second by Councilor Ansel. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Passed. Discussion on the item itself.
Seems pretty straightforward, buildings, training, and I see no cost to the city.
Roll call?
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Enzel?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Are there any resolutions for initial consideration at this time? Any new business or additional council reports?
I had a constituent call me yesterday, rather upset. I guess there's been no fishing signs have been posted down along Dock Street. I guess he and others have fished down that way, in that area for a number of years. And he said, somebody came out and started yelling at him for fishing down off the ledge, and he was asking me about. Quite honestly, I didn't know anything about it being posted, so I told him I would bring it up at the meeting tonight.
I do recall that coming up, or some sort of discussion of fishing right near where the boats are, and the staff had asked the individuals to fish instead of on the south side of the Peace Point, on the north side.
Okay.
So
Well,
the
he
hooks-
said that there's no fishing signs all over down there.
Like all the way up the
Yeah,
center.
and he said, actually out to the Peace Point, it's posted out there as well. And,
I don't know about that, we can certainly take a look at that though.
yeah, I was going, I didn't have an opportunity to go down and take a look at it myself, and I hope to, but, I just told him I would bring it up tonight.
We'll look into that. Any other new business or council reports? Any other closing comments from the public on any issues of mutual concern? Please come forward.
Good afternoon. Can you just explain to me what happened with the Alliance for Positive Health Ask? I walked in, I think, in the middle of that.
Didn't receive a second.
So what happened?
So wasn't
Just
considered.
goes on to the next meeting? Terrific. That's all I need to know. Thanks.
Any other members of the public who'd like to come and address the council?
Mayor, I just had one thing, I couldn't slip in there, but, I still haven't seen where we're selling the buttons. I haven't seen an announcement on that anywhere, for the Battle of Plattsburgh.
I can send that over to you.
Okay, yeah, 'cause I've had people ask me where they were for sale, and I didn't know.
And I'll post that on the Facebook sign too. And it should be, and I'll put it on the website as well.
Very good.
Thank you. Any other closing comments? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Councilor Rensselaer, second by Councilor McFarland. Roll call.
Councilor Armstrong?
Yes.
Councilor Kelly?
Yes.
Councilor Rensselaer?
Yes.
Councilor McFarland?
Yes.
Councilor Moore?
Yes.
Thank you, folks, for coming, and thank you, Councilors Kelly and Armstrong.
Well, thank you, Mayor.
So we used to put my cat on a leash when we lived in New Jersey. And like, if you put her on a leash, she just falls down, and you have to like pull her back. It's literally really common. It's hilarious, but also very obnoxious. I'm sorry.